The conference hall buzzed with tension as representatives from dozens of alien civilizations gathered. Humanity sat at the far end of the massive circular table, representatives looking small and somewhat out of place among towering exotic alien species. Captain J. Park watched carefully, his dark eyes scanning the room. Around him, alien delegates whispered and occasionally laughed, their translators picking up every subtle mockery. The Celestial Alliance had summoned Earth's representatives for what was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting about interstellar trade routes, but it was quickly becoming a public humiliation. A crystalline being from the Orion cluster, whose body shimmered like broken glass, leaned forward. Its voice rang out clearly through the translation systems. Humans have barely touched their own solar system. How can they expect to participate in galactic commerce? Another delegate, a tentacled creature from the Aquarius cluster, added with a rumbling laugh, "Their technology is primitive. Their fastest ships would take centuries to reach our outer colonies." Jay maintained his composure. He knew something they didn't. Hidden deep within Earth's most secure research facilities, a project had been developing that would change everything. The USS Phantom was more than just a ship. It was humanity's secret weapon. The diplomatic meeting continued, with each alien species taking turns discussing humanity's limitations. They spoke about human technological backwardness, their limited understanding of quantum mechanics, and their seemingly insignificant place in the galactic hierarchy. What they didn't realize was that humanity had been listening, learning, and preparing. Jay's hand subtly touched the communication device hidden in his sleeve. A silent message was transmitted, a complex code that would trigger a series of events nobody in this room could predict. The Celestial Alliance believed they were merely entertaining a formality. Earth's inclusion in these meetings was more of a diplomatic courtesy than a serious consideration. They saw humans as children playing with technology they couldn't possibly understand. But children grow, and sometimes they grow in ways no one expects. Dr. Hyun Kim, thousands of miles away in a hidden research facility, watched the live feed of the conference. She smiled slightly, knowing the quantum stealth technology they had developed was about to change everything. The USS Phantom represented years of secret research, breakthrough technologies that defied current scientific understanding. Its quantum camouflage system could bend light, absorb radiation, and essentially make the ship invisible to any known scanning technology. While alien delegates continued their mockery, Jay Park remained calm. His military training had prepared him for moments like these. He understood that true power wasn't about loudly declaring strength, but about quietly developing capabilities that would surprise everyone. The conference continued, with more jokes and dismissive comments about human potential. Each word was another nail in the coffin of alien underestimation. Little did they know that humanity was about to demonstrate something profound, that technological advancement isn't about how loud you can be, but how smart you can think. As the meeting drew to a close, Jay stood up. His movement was subtle, almost unremarkable, but there was a quiet confidence in his stance that made a few alien delegates pause. "We appreciate the opportunity to discuss galactic trade," he said simply, his voice steady and clear. "Humanity looks forward to future collaborations." The crystalline delegate from the Orion cluster gave a dismissive shimmer, clearly not taking his words seriously. But in that moment, as Jay walked out of the conference hall, a revolution was already in motion. The USS Phantom waited, invisible and ready, a testament to human ingenuity that would soon shock the entire galaxy. Humanity's real story was just beginning, and no one in that room had any idea what was coming. The seeds of change had been planted, and they were about to grow in ways no one could have predicted. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, a research facility hummed with quiet intensity. Dr. Elena Kim stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers moving carefully across quantum interfaces that looked more like magic than science. The USS Phantom wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's most ambitious technological project in decades. Years of research, billions of dollars, and the most brilliant minds on the planet had converged to create something unprecedented. Quantum camouflage wasn't just about hiding. It was about becoming nothing. literally blending into the background. Radiation of space itself. Traditional stealth technologies were child's play compared to what they were developing. System check. Elena muttered to her team of 6 engineers. Each was handpicked, their backgrounds so classified that even their families didn't know what they were working on. The ship's hull was constructed from a revolutionary material that could absorb and redistribute electromagnetic signals. Sensors would literally slide around the USS Phantom without detecting its presence. It was like creating a hole in space where nothing existed. Outside the main research chamber, military advisors watched carefully. They understood the potential game changer sitting before them. If successful, this technology would rewrite every rulebook of space exploration and warfare. Quantum signature stability at 92%, announced Park Min, the lead quantum engineer. His fingers danced across complex computational models that seemed to shift and breathe like living organisms. Elena knew the risks. One miscalculation could mean total system failure. Quantum technologies were unpredictable, operating at margins so thin that traditional physics seemed to break down. The team had spent months running simulations. Thousands of computational scenarios had been tested, each one pushing the boundaries of what humans thought was possible. They weren't just developing a stealth ship. They were challenging the fundamental understanding of visibility itself. Initiating final integration sequence, Park Min called out. The entire facility seemed to hold its breath. Massive power generators hummed, their energy channeling into complex quantum matrices that would make the USS Phantom essentially invisible. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, something extraordinary occurred. The holographic representation of the ship began to disappear, not in a dramatic fade, but in a subtle, almost imperceptible manner. One moment it was there, the next it was simply gone. Confirmation, Elena whispered. Total quantum camouflage achieved. Military advisors who had been skeptical now stood in stunned silence. They were looking at something that defied current technological understanding. A ship that could move through space without being detected by any known scanning technology. The implications were massive. Navigation systems that relied on detecting electromagnetic emissions would find nothing. Radar, infrared, quantum scanners, all would slide past the USS Phantom as if it didn't exist. But this wasn't just about military advantage. The technology could revolutionize scientific exploration, potentially allowing humanity to observe cosmic events without disturbing them. We've done it, Park Min said, a rare smile crossing his usually serious face. Elena knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when the USS Phantom was launched into actual space, when it would need to maintain its quantum camouflage against the complex radiation environments of different star systems. Outside, the research facility, the Nevada desert, remained unchanged. No signals escaped, no indication of the technological miracle being born inside those thick, sealed walls. Humanity had just taken a quantum leap into a future where invisibility was no longer science fiction, but a carefully engineered reality. The USS Phantom waited, ready to change everything. The star system burned with conflict. Massive battleships from the Rimward Dominion unleashed devastating energy weapons against the Celestial Alliance fleet. Explosions painted the dark canvas of space in brilliant cascades of blue and white. Aboard the USS Phantom, Captain J. Park watched silently. No enemy scanner could detect their presence. They were a ghost, moving through the most dangerous combat zone in recent galactic history. Scanning primary conflict zones, whispered Lieutenant Soo-Jin Kim, her fingers dancing across quantum interfaces. The ship's advanced systems absorbed information without leaving any trace of their intelligence gathering. The battle raged around them. Thousands of ships engaged in a complex dance of destruction. Entire planetary defense systems collapsed under relentless bombardment, but the USS Phantom moved like a shadow, collecting critical intelligence that would change everything. Jay understood the stakes. This wasn't just about watching a conflict. They were gathering information that could prevent potential genocide. Each data stream represented thousands of potential lives saved. Suddenly, a massive battleship from the Rimward Dominion began charging an experimental weapon. Its energy signature suggested something far beyond conventional warfare. "Lieutenant?" Kim's eyes widened. "Captain, that weapon could destroy entire planetary systems," she reported. The USS Phantom's quantum systems began analyzing the weapon's potential trajectory. Complex algorithms calculated potential destruction scenarios in milliseconds. Massive computational power worked silently, invisibly. Around them, space erupted with violence. Ships exploded like fragile glass bubbles. Radiation waves crashed against each other, creating massive electromagnetic storms that would have destroyed any conventional vessel. But the USS Phantom remained undetected. Its quantum camouflage absorbed and redistributed every potential detection signal. They were nothing. They were everywhere. They were nowhere. Jay watched the weapon's charging sequence. His training had prepared him for moments like these, where split-second decisions could change entire galactic conflicts. "Prepare comprehensive data package," he commanded. Lieutenant Kim nodded. Their mission wasn't to engage. Their mission was to observe, collect, and transmit critical intelligence that could prevent massive destruction. The experimental weapon reached maximum charge. Its energy could potentially destroy multiple planetary systems, killing billions of sentient beings. One press of a button would trigger unprecedented destruction. But something unexpected happened. The USS Phantom's quantum systems began interfering with the weapon's targeting mechanisms. Subtle quantum manipulations that were impossible to trace or detect. Small, precise interventions that would make the weapon's targeting completely unreliable. "Interference sequence initiated," Sujin reported. The weapon fired, but instead of destroying its intended target, it missed completely. A massive miscalculation that would save millions of lives. No one would know how or why. No one could trace the intervention. The USS Phantom had become more than a ship. It was a silent guardian moving through the darkness of space. As quickly as they had arrived, they began withdrawing. No signals, no traces. Just pure, invisible movement. "Mission complete," Jay said quietly. Outside, the battle continued. Ships continued to fight. Civilizations remained unaware that a human vessel had just potentially prevented a massive catastrophe. The USS Phantom disappeared into the vast darkness, carrying with it secrets that could reshape galactic understanding of humanity's capabilities. They were no longer the species to be mocked. They were becoming something else entirely. The intelligence gathered by the USS Phantom arrived through encrypted channels that no alien civilization could trace. Military strategists across multiple star systems received complex data packages that revealed intricate details about the brewing galactic conflict. At the Celestial Alliance Command Center, senior commanders studied the mysterious intelligence with growing confusion. The information was too precise, too detailed to be from any known source. It predicted enemy movements with impossible accuracy, revealing strategic vulnerabilities that should have been impossible to detect. Colonel Woo Hyun, a veteran military strategist, examined the data carefully. Something about these reports felt different. They weren't just intelligence, they were strategic masterpieces that could prevent massive loss of life. The first impact came quickly. The Rimward Dominion's planned invasion of the Aquarius cluster was completely neutralized. Their entire battle strategy, which had been months in preparation, fell apart within hours. No one could understand how. The intelligence packages continued to arrive. Each transmission was untraceable, coming from nowhere and everywhere simultaneously. Military analysts worked around the clock, trying to understand the source of this game-changing information. What they didn't know was that the USS Phantom had become more than just a ship. It was a silent guardian, moving through the complex web of galactic conflicts with unprecedented precision. In the research facilities back on Earth, Dr. Elena Kim watched the unfolding events with quiet satisfaction. The quantum stealth technology was working perfectly. Humanity was changing the galactic landscape without anyone knowing they were involved. The turning point became clear during the critical battle for the Orion sector. 3 major civilizations were on the brink of a conflict that would have killed billions. The mysterious intelligence packages revealed hidden diplomatic tensions, secret military preparations, and potential diplomatic solutions that no traditional intelligence gathering could have discovered. Diplomatic channels that had been frozen for decades suddenly began to move. Conversations that seemed impossible now became potential pathways to peace. The alien civilizations remained confused. Who was providing this extraordinary intelligence? Where was it coming from? The information was too precise to be random, too strategic to be accidental. Colonel Wu Hyun began connecting the dots. The intelligence wasn't just about preventing conflicts. It was about creating opportunities for peaceful resolution. Each data package was crafted with a level of strategic thinking that suggested something beyond traditional military intelligence. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Phantom, Captain J. Park and his crew continued their silent mission. They moved through space-like shadows, collecting information, understanding complex galactic dynamics in ways no one else could. The ship had become more than a technological marvel. It was a statement about human potential. As weeks passed, the impact of the mysterious intelligence became impossible to ignore. Conflicts that seemed inevitable were being resolved through diplomatic channels. Military confrontations were being prevented before they could even begin. The Celestial Alliance began whispering about a new force in the galaxy. Something unexpected. Something they couldn't understand. Slowly, the perception of humanity began to change. No longer were they seen as a primitive species. Something had shifted. They were becoming something else entirely. A civilization with capabilities that defied current understanding. Back on Earth, only a handful of people understood what was truly happening. The USS Phantom was more than a ship. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and they were nothing like anyone had expected. The turning point had begun, and no one saw it coming. The Galactic Diplomatic Summit was unlike any previous gathering. Representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations filled the massive circular hall, their anticipation thick with uncertainty. Captain J. Park stood quietly at the center of the room. Behind him, a massive holographic display began to reveal the impossible journey of the USS Phantom. Each image showed the stealth ship moving through the most dangerous combat zones, completely undetected. The crystalline delegate from the Orion cluster, who had once mocked humanity, now sat frozen in shock. The tentacled representative from the Aquarius cluster couldn't believe what he was seeing. Humanity presents its technological capabilities, Jay said simply. Complete silence filled the hall. Holographic displays showed how a single human vessel had prevented multiple large-scale conflicts, gathered unprecedented intelligence, and essentially reshaped galactic dynamics without anyone knowing. Dr. Elena Kim, watching from Earth, allowed, herself a small smile. Years of secret research were about to change everything. The quantum stealth technology of the USS Phantom was more than a military breakthrough. It represented a fundamental shift in understanding technology, space exploration, and human potential. Each holographic image revealed another layer of the ship's extraordinary capabilities, sensors sliding around its hull, radiation signals being absorbed and redistributed, complete invisibility in the most complex electromagnetic environments. How is this possible? Demanded the Celestial Alliance's chief diplomat, his multiple tentacles trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. J. Park simply nodded. No dramatic speeches, no unnecessary explanations. The evidence spoke for itself. The implications were massive. A species that was once considered technologically primitive had developed capabilities that defied current scientific understanding. Humanity had not just entered the galactic stage, they had rewritten the entire rulebook. Military strategists in the room began to recalculate everything they thought they knew. If humans could develop such technology, what else were they capable of? The USS Phantom represented more than a technological marvel. It was a statement about human potential, about the ability to think beyond current limitations. As the presentation continued, alien delegates began to shift in their seats. The mockery from previous diplomatic meetings evaporated. Respect started to replace condescension. Humanity was no longer the small, insignificant species in the corner. They were becoming something else entirely. "We are prepared for collaborative exploration," Jay announced, his voice calm and steady. The Orion Cluster's representative, whose body had once shimmered with dismissive energy, now looked genuinely impressed. The complex quantum technologies demonstrated were beyond anything in their current scientific understanding. Dr. Hyun Kim, watching from the research facility, knew this was more than a diplomatic moment. This was a turning point for human civilization. The USS Phantom had done more than demonstrate technological capabilities. It had changed the fundamental perception of humanity in the galactic community. No dramatic speeches were needed. The technology spoke for itself. As the diplomatic summit continued, it became clear that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer an afterthought. They were a force to be recognized, respected, and potentially feared. The silent ship that had moved through countless conflict zones had become something more than a technological achievement. It was a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity had arrived. And they were nothing like anyone had expected.